Hello and welcome back to the channel. As you can already tell, the budget has been blown on additional footage in different camera angles, as for the first time ever, I'm racing outdoors. Today we're here at Castle Combe racetrack for the SRK Championship Season Prologue. I've only registered for the South East Trophy this year, and this event was mainly to see just how far off the pace I currently am. I will then try to improve at those tracks to hopefully be somewhat competitive by the time the races come round. Let's see how I do in the first of 3 heats. We start in 7th of 9 places in Heat 1, but as I'm not familiar with the track, I'm quite anxious about being a nuisance and getting in everyone's way. I'd made the decision previously to just tentatively allow everyone past me, which happens very quickly. I certainly wasn't expecting to have Shrek facing me the entire race, but it gave me a good chuckle whilst realising I'm very quickly being left behind here. Luckily, a bit of fighting between the group and some defensive driving allows me to close that gap towards the hairpin at the far end. It ends up being the place where most overtakes are completed in this track. At this point, I'm just trying my best to follow the lines of the other drivers, which I initially struggle with. Exhibit A at this hairpin as I misjudged the turn, having to fight lots of oversteer to avoid smashing into the apex. And there's that gap again, as everyone else disappears into the distance up this straight. Luckily though, more fighting between those in front of me allows me to claw back some of that precious time between us. At this point, I remember feeling way out of my depth as I was meeting each corner so quickly, one after another, with minimal time to think or settle myself. As per our laply routine, I'm losing lots of time into this section of the track and especially up the back straight, so I'm praying for a mistake or more fighting up ahead to get back amongst the action. Right on cue though, the marshal waves his yellow flag as the driver is static on the exit of this hairpin. My inexperience and lack of confidence shows there as I slowed right down and allowed him to rejoin the race ahead of me. Anyway, back to plan A. Follow their lines and try to keep up. Three corners later and plan A has already failed. Plan B. Wait for a mistake. I feel like I'm becoming a bit more confident in the track at this point. Each turn is less of a surprise than it was previously, and I haven't been lapped yet, so that's positive. No surprises here, but they've gapped me up this back straight. Through this next part of the track though, enough battling is ongoing up ahead that I can catch up to within almost a kart's length of 8th place, and make up some of that time I lost on the back straight. 8th place in the orange jumpsuit and white helmet tries to drive straight into the apex I narrowly avoided in lap 2. I slam on the brakes and manage to avoid it. Despite this, he takes off down the back straight and into the fight for 7th place. Bit of foreshadowing for you all here, but I think it's really important that we focus on the fact that I did not hit orange jumpsuit, white helmet when he almost spun out in front of me. Although I am feeling a little bit more confident at this stage of the race, I am aware that I'm still way off the pace, and I'm just trying to make as many minimal changes to gain slightly. I am aware that this is probably the closest I've been to the back of the pack up this straight, which was encouraging. It's a small win which I'll grab with both hands. Now it's important to note the line 8th place takes here, very tight and hugging the apex into the first turn of this chicane. Good driving which I'm struggling to replicate. Okay, so as we turn this next corner, you can see the marshal on the right waving the checkered flag indicating the end of the race. And I can't remember what plan B was, but I've initiated plan C. Send it and see what happens. Now orange suit and white helmet seems to have the same plan C as he deviates from his usual line. I send it up the inside as he cuts back across and there's contact. He retains his position one corner from the finish line. As far as I'm concerned, no harm done, and I finish in 9th place, last, the first loser. And as we slow down, orange jumpsuit has a little look back, to which I give him the old thumbs up. He gets me right back in the feelings of the passive aggressive head shaking disappointment. Funny. Oh well, on to heat 2. Starting heat 2 in 4th place on the grid. I have a different mindset with this one. I won't be intentionally handing everyone my position, and I'm going to actually try and be as competitive as possible. 2nd place forces himself behind first to get the inside lane, leaving the outside available to be attacked, which I do. Unfortunately, someone behind me hit into my rear and spins me out. I try and recover quickly, but no joy.
Not gonna happen.
As I rejoin the race, I just do my laps, get the race done. I don't see anyone, I don't catch up to anyone. I don't get lapped, which is important. And I'm not going to show you the entirety of this heat, as literally nothing happens, nothing exciting. I'm going to keep it going for one more lap, because we've got some nice second angles, courtesy of my girlfriend. Here they come. Look at that. Oh, she thought I was going quicker than I was. There she is, she found me again. Not only can I not keep up with the other karters, but I also can't keep up with the pace of the second camera. Without anyone to follow and knowing that my race is over, I was just being a bit reckless, trying out new things, so my lines are horrible. I'm having a good time and just seeing out the end of this race. At the start of Heat 3, I'm in 3rd position on the grid, which gives me a good advantage going into Turn 1 and a great opportunity to complete my first overtake of the day, which I do manage to get by going on the inside of 2nd, stealing that spot behind pole position. Unfortunately though, 1st place absolutely takes off, leaving myself and the rest of the racers behind. Despite an already large gap between myself and 1st, I'm happily sat in 2nd position. My joy was cut short though by red flags as someone had crashed and spun out at Turn 1. I'm not sure how this differs to Heat 2 when it was me who spun out at that turn. Anyway, it's just worth noting. Let's try again. I go for the same move into Turn 1, but with increased pressure from 4th place this time. There's a little bit of contact. Fortunately though, I make it stick and I'm back into 2nd place. Now I'm not sure how 1st place is gaining on me so much, whether weight or kart disparity has anything to add to the already obvious skill disparity, but it is demoralising seeing him leave me behind so easily. I'm trying to take quite tight and defensive lines through each of the corners, and I can definitely feel the pressure from behind as they're nudging me through each one. You can really see me fight the contact as I'm turning into that hairpin. The second camera angle shows the first of multiple mistakes I make when I open the door at this vulnerable turn at the top of the track. This sees me drop down 2 positions as I'm unable to regain a dominant position on the track, and I'm eventually forced wide into a tyre wall. The other drivers capitalise and I'm now down to 6th place. Although I've dropped some places here, the people behind me are still as quick as those in front of me and they're leaving me very, very quickly. As we approach this section of the track again, things go from bad to worse as the fellas behind me start throwing up gang signs, working together to get past me at the same turn as my fall from grace on the last lap. Which they do, putting me in 8th position and cementing a torrid couple of laps. I just about managed to fend off 9th position and end up following Shrek in 7th position for the remainder of the heat, which I've sped up for you. And we cross the line after Heat 3 in 8th position, a career's best. Over the moon with that, and pleasantly relieved I didn't finish every race in last place. I now felt ready to win that C final. Starting the C final in last place, I had nothing to lose, and coming off that monumental 8th place finish, I began my last to first challenge. I get a slow start, presumably because of the sheer weight of my ambition. Despite this, I managed to get an overtake and sneak into 9th position around the outside into turn 2. Now my lines have improved slightly, but it still seems like my car is struggling to move me anywhere at any real pace, leaving that all too familiar gap in front along this back straight. Now the guy in front of me is trying his best to pressure the driver in 7th position into making a mistake. I'm just trying to stick with them so I can capitalise on any mistakes or errors they make as a result of their battles. I was so focused on the drivers ahead of me and so used to being last, I forgot there was 10 races in the final, and that I was actually being pursued. I was gently reminded at the top of the track here when 10th place nudges me round the corner in an attempt to overtake. 8th place continues pressuring 7th up ahead. The drivers are all pretty spread out amongst their own battles of two, however no moves are being made at this point in the race. As the race gets closer to its conclusion, desperacy will sneak in, and that's where I'm planning on stealing the other 9 places and finishing first to complete my last to first challenge. Okay, maybe not. But I'm having a good time and it's the taking part that counts, right? Okay, in a minute you can see 8th place trying to gain a position after all the pressure he's been placing on 7th. He goes very defensive as a result. Unfortunately there's no mistakes made and nothing that I can capitalise, other than just time gained. 6th place and 5th place having a bit of a battle up ahead as well, and that's why they're also being caught by 7th and 8th, and myself now that I'm amongst them. You can sense that the more compact the 4 drivers ahead get, the more likely a mistake is to be made. I'm biding my time and trying to get as close as I can. 8th position goes for a move on the outside here. I go on the inside and get side by side with 8th and the inside lane for the following turn. He forces contact there, slowing my car to keep that spot. Cheap tactics. I feel like there's a real opportunity to gain another spot in this race, and 8th position is now where I'm within distance to capitalise on any mistakes. I get a good exit here after turn 1 and 8th position checks his shoulder and cuts me off again, to slow me down, this time going into the back straight. I'm starting to realise that overtaking this guy is going to be quite difficult, as he's willing to do pretty much anything, whatever it takes to keep 8th place. Now ironically, the guy forcing contact to avoid me overtaking was relying on me to avoid him at the hairpin of turn 1 as he stops dead on the apex, killing both of our momentum. Unfortunately, I was too close to overtake him on the outside there. Now, as we're both trying to catch up, some very timely battling between 7th, 6th and 5th allows 8th to swoop in and cause more chaos, allowing me the opportunity for at least 1 or 2 overtakes. But who's going to ruin it for me this time? Yep, you guessed it. Same guy by driving me straight into the outside tyre wall. Plus, 10th place swoops in and claims 9th. He then smacks into 9th place to shove him out of the way and regain his 8th position. Fortunately, the guy in red gets a very good run up the back straight and is in a great position to overtake. I try and bump him through to upset the party of green suit in 8th. Unfortunately though, he bails and doesn't make it stick. The remainder of this race looks very similar to heats 1 and 2 with me behind the rest of the drivers. However, the sun has come out and the following angle was shot expertly, so I'll leave it in. I felt a bit hard done by in the C final because I thought I did enough to at least retain 9th position, or even gain 8th position. However, rightly or wrongly, it wasn't to be. So this means I came 28th out of 28 drivers, which apparently means last, and also can be translated to literally behind everybody else. Despite this, the whole experience was absolutely great. I didn't know anybody there, but everybody seemed friendly enough. Big thanks to Paige for supporting and getting the extra footage. A huge thanks to Diego from SRK and Castle Combe track staff for organising the event. And also a massive well done to all the other drivers, and hopefully I'll offer more of a challenge at the end of the season. Take care and thank you for watching. Bye.